Let's speak about another team that's birds, the Philadelphia Eagles. Champ, you picked the Rams. I picked the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, masterful performance in the second half, a 19-point deficit in which the Eagles overcame largely due to the heroics of Jalen Hurts. Reading a stat right here, he currently right now has a winning streak of 17-0 as he started and finished, and an impressive feat that places him among NFL history elite quarterbacks, including Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Throughout this perfect season run, he has had a combined 3,904 yards with 43 touchdowns to only 5 turnovers.
Really?
Yes. Yes, Jalen Hurts. 43
Wow, that's
touchdowns.
amazing.
Yes, Stephen A. Smith brought that up on First Take today.
Mm.
Jalen Hurts, look, do I still have him as a top 5 quarterback? No. But what you saw in that game, they unleashed him. Enough of this, because he was struggling in the first half of that game. But Jalen Hurts, for him to come back and beat the Rams, he just validated why the Philadelphia Eagles are more than proud to have him as a quarterback. Because remember, it was supposed to be Carson Wentz's team. And the reason why he was drafted in the second round was because, again, they didn't know what was going to happen with Carson Wentz's durability and much more. So just in case, Jalen Hurts will step in, and he has been more than exceptional. Also, too, the Georgia brothers, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. Did you see that stat I sent you, champ? Miles per hour for a man 330 pounds or more.
Yeah.
That dude, no,
19 miles per hour. That's a lot of mass coming at you at one time. It's a lot of mass coming at you at one time.
I gotta be honest with you, man. The Eagles won this one, and I felt like on that last drive, Sean McVay, you should have had went in for a touchdown, because one time, remember, not once but twice, the Eagles blocked the kicker. Twice. Which is shocking to me. And with Jalen Hurts' performance, remember, the formula was taking away Saquon Barkley, to which the Rams, they did their part, neutralizing Saquon Barkley. You didn't have to ask Saquon to do much if you were Philadelphia in order to win that game. Jalen Hurts showed you. Him and A.J. Brown, finally they were clicking. Finally they were getting it together. Him and Devontae Adams. Jalen Hurts in the second half looked like Tom Brady. He did. In that second half, he looked like Tom Brady. Coming off a deficit, the Eagles finally found ways to come back and win that game. And it's tough, man. You got to give the Eagles their credit is due. And again, I'm a Washington Commanders fan. I can't stand the Eagles. But on this day, you got to give credit where credit is due. Jalen Hurts showed you he is capable of doing whatever it takes in order for the team to win. He validated that. He validated why he is a top 10 quarterback. Do I have him top 5? No. But if he continues to have more performances like this, then sooner or later, we may have those top 5 conversations. But you got to give credit. You got to tip your hat off to the Philadelphia Eagles, man. You got to tip your hat off to Jalen Hurts. BRF, what were your thoughts?
I think we need to. Jalen Hurts showed that even with the talent that he has around him, when it's time to put up or shut up, he can go out and win games. Because everybody, look at the talent he has around him. The talent carries him and da-da-da-da. No, it's not always the case. Jalen Hurts is quarterback team. He's the leader of this franchise. He just went out and showed you when I need to do it, I can go get it and I can go win these games myself. himself. And honestly, he needed a performance like that. He needed a performance like that to really shut a lot of critics up. And I'm happy for him because I do have him because he's definitely is he a top 5 quarterback? Probably not. But I mean, it's like you got to look at who are his contemporaries as far as like possibly being a top 5. You're looking at guys like Stafford and Herbert, and when he's Jaden Daniels when he's healthy, as far as his contemporaries for like top 5 consideration. So I mean, he's in that tier with those guys because like he can. It's not always pretty, but he gets the job done. But then when they decide we're gonna turn you loose, I mean, look at that second half against the second half late in the second half against the Rams. When they were down and the wheeling back like that. That's a quarterback knowing the situation and knowing what he needed to do. And I mean, now granted, you do have really good players around you. You have good coaching around you, putting you in these situations, but you still got to go out there and execute. And that's why that team gravitates and follows Jalen Hurts. They will run through a brick wall for this man because they know what he can do in clutch moments. They know when it's clutch. When he's got to make a play, he can make a play. They'll run through a brick wall for him. And that was, that's championship material right there. That right there is why the Philadelphia Eagles are the defending Super Bowl champions. Because to beat them, you really have to if you have your foot on their throat, you have to press down. Because if you give them any leeway of hope, they're going to snatch it. Because that's what championship caliber teams do. Snatching victory from the jaws of defeat. That's what they do. And Jalen Hurts really established himself a little more, and he needed that performance to get people off his back because the discourse about him has been just, I don't know, you don't want to say ridiculous, but it has been a little wild. Like you can't question the man's talent, you can't question the man's ability, and Champ says it all the time. It's one of those things where it's like you can't help the people. You can't help it. He can't help it that he has the best front office in the National Football League. He can't help that. He can't help. He's got guys like Howie Roseman who know how to evaluate, who know how to scout, who know how to bring the best guys in to put around him in order for them to fully thrive. That's not his fault. He's just in a situation where he can succeed. And right now he's just succeeding better than everybody else because they're defending champs. So you're not going to find too many situations in history where the quarterback just absolutely willed their team to the promised land, with lack of talent. You're not going to have too many 2015 Cam Newton seasons happening. You're not going to see stuff like that often. And even then, still, he didn't win the Super Bowl that year. You're not going to see that many seasons like this. More often than not, your Super Bowl champions are going to be balanced teams on both sides of the ball, which is what the Philadelphia Eagles are. Jalen Hurts took it upon himself, said, I'm going to get y'all this win, and that's exactly what he did, and shout out to him because, man, the LA Rams, they were really high. I saw that. Yeah, that is demoralizing for a team like that because they have their own aspirations, and not just for the NFC West Championship. They've heard the chatter, they've heard the talks. They're a dark horse Super Bowl contender. As far as the NFC is concerned, they're a dark horse. They've heard the chatter. That's demoralizing for a team like that wants to make a move and take that step into possibly making it to an NFC Championship game, contending for a shot to get to the Super Bowl. Very demoralizing for a team like that because they've been riding pretty high. They've been playing good football, and to suffer a loss like that, you have to wonder what their psyche is and what their mindset is. But you would think, with a guy like Sean McVay, who's been there, who's seen the ups, who's seen the downs, who's been through it all with that franchise, who's helped that franchise win a championship, you would think a guy like Sean McVay would get his players back on the right track and get them ready for the games ahead because stuff, and you hate to say it, but stuff like this can happen depending on the competition you run into, and he just so happened to run into the defending champs. So He's got to get back on. He's got to get those players back on the horse, get them back to practice. Study the game tape, make the necessary adjustments you need to make, and come back ready to roll. Because the season don't stop just because you had a really really bad showing in the second half like that. The season don't stop. You got to keep moving. So I do expect Sean McVay to get his team back on track because they played a hell of a game before that collapse. They were really doing it in all phases on both sides of the ball before that happened. So you got to find a silver lining somewhere. You got to find a way to build off of that and just take it into the next game. But back to the Eagles real quick. I said they're still the best team in the NFC. And I have no reason to waver off that. They're still the best team in the NFC. I still feel like right now they are the most balanced team in that conference on both sides of the ball, and they absolutely deserve to still be the favorites to win the NFC and go to Super Bowl 60. They absolutely deserve to be the favorites because I just feel like on any given Sunday, nobody can match them talent-wise on both sides of the ball. I just don't feel like there's a team that can match them on both sides of the ball. The closest to me right now are probably – I said the Packers are the second best team in the NFC right now, and I'm sticking to it. But the Philadelphia Eagles, you had to put me on the spot, picking a team to represent the NFC for the Super Bowl again. I'm not wavering off the Eagles. You have to go with them right now, just because of not only how they play, but how battle tested they are, and nothing's gonna phase them, and nothing's gonna scare them off of what the ultimate goal is. So. That was wild. Sunday was just wild. Period. Because real quick before Champ you go, it was crazy because after the Falcons game went off, they went to that Rams Eagles game. I saw the Jordan Davis block, and not even like 5-6 minutes later, I saw the Will Anderson block. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, what was going on?
Not a great day for kickers in week 3. I mean, you want to talk about the Falcons kicker. You want to talk about the Rams kicker. You want to talk about there have been a lot of issues with special teams, man. But BRF, hold on to that because remember, a team in that division in the NFC East has had a hard time winning it back-to-back seasons. So we got to wait and see on that. But before I give Champ on, our boy Rod, let me see if I could try to get him on the pod real quick. Rod. But Champ, big fella, talk to me about the game.
Look, people need to STFU about Jalen Hurts. Yeah, all the little critics or whatever. He just has a talented team around him. Name me one quarterback that ever won a Super Bowl that didn't have a stacked team around. I'll wait. The funniest thing about Peyton Manning's last Super Bowl is they won despite him. So I don't understand why we move the goalposts so much. 1 minute we're talking about a quarterback in the form of Kyler Murray. He doesn't have enough talent around him. Okay. And then the very next out of that same mouth, we want to say, well, the only reason Jalen Hurts is succeeding is he has a talented team. That ain't his fault. What's the problem? When Peyton Manning had a stacked team, we didn't say anything. Tom Brady had a stacked team, we didn't say anything. When any other player had a stacked team that won in this league, we didn't say anything. Now it's Jalen Hurts' turn. Why? Because he plays for the Eagles? That's probably the only reason I could possibly think of. Because anything else would be simply idiotic at this point. I really believe that.
I don't think it's just the Eagles, Champ. I think they undermined him because they look at what Jalen Hurts has had throughout his career. Alabama, surrounded with talent. But when he transferred to OU, surrounded with talent. Eagles, same thing. But like I said, Champ, he has been more than what the Philadelphia Eagles have asked and hoped for. Because remember, had it not been for injury, he would have won the league MVP back in 2022. Had it not been for injury, Hurts has made a second team All-Pro. He's made back-to-back Pro Bowl appearances. He's been a good enough quarterback. The problem I have when people like Reels Talk with MJ is when they try to hype him and say he's top 5. he's better than Burrow, Allen, Lamar. And that's where he needs to, people like that need to pump the brakes. Now, if you want to make an argument top 10, I ain't got no problem with it.
I mean, hell, if you really want me to be honest, is Joe Burrow leaving on the field enough?
No, but at the same time, champ, you can. But hold on, champ. You can't tell me on Jalen Hurts' best day he's better than Joe Burrow.
The best ability is availability at that
quarterback. But wait a minute, that ain't Burrow's fault. You keep telling me, hey, quarterback can't throw behind his back, and you keep telling me if you Joe Burrow's lawyer, I advocate him to leave Cincinnati.
I advocate for him to leave Cincinnati as well. But again, it's not his fault that he's getting hurt, but a best ability is availability. You have to be on that field in order for us to see results. This is happening every other year. Wait,
I understand availability, so champ.
I'll put him while Joe Burrow is out. I've been on record as saying, look, Joe Burrow's out right about now. So, hey, I'll put him in that conversation. He does what he has to do when he has to win it. I'm gonna just be real. I'm on the best show in the world right about now. Why do I need to go ahead and show how much I know when I got y'all to show how much y'all know? Why do I need to do it? That's the thing. It's the same thing. Why do I need to show how intelligent I am, how smart I am, and how much football history I know when y'all two do it for me, when y'all two do it every single week? I don't have to.
Big fella, when people
like, just be honest.
I know you're being honest, but here's the thing, as you always tell me, big fella, people pick and choose who they like. Jalen Hurts to them is they don't like because he's not a guy who puts up fancy, eye-popping, astronomical numbers. If Jalen Hurts was putting up those types of numbers, what would they be saying? Would I take Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow when healthy? No, I understand Joe Burrow hasn't been healthy this season, but at the same time, I still wouldn't take Jalen Hurts over Joe Burrow. And to say availability is the best ability, that's like saying Vince Russo is available over Jim Cornette when it comes to wrestling. You mean to tell me I would rather want Vince Russo teaching me wrestling than Jim Cornette? Hell no.
No. But the thing is, to my point, Jalen Hurts is not injured a lot. He's been injured before, but he's not injured a lot.
Not like Burrow.
Not like Burrow. But, yeah, I'm going to just be real. People need to leave Jalen Hurts alone. I understand. Look, the play is not pretty, but neither was Troy Aikman's, and he won 3 Super Bowls. He was the cornerstone of that Dallas Cowboy dynasty. He was the cornerstone. And guess what? He didn't have to do a lot on that offensive side, but he was able to get them where they need to be when he had to. And you got to think about scheme. Scheme is, guess what? Being a leader is knowing this. I'm going to just be real. Me as a former section leader, squad leader, I'm going to just be honest. Being a leader is knowing when to take a step back because you have an incredible asset on your team. That's what being a leader is. Being a leader is knowing when to take a step back because you know you have one hell of an asset on your team. If you don't believe that, ask the late, great Kobe. Look how much of a step back that he had to take because he had the big fella on his team. He had Shaq on his team. So, as a leader, when you have one of the greatest running backs of this generation, why not take a step back? Was that held against Troy Aikman when he did that with Emmitt Smith? No, it was not. Stats only win in the box score. They don't win Super Bowls. Stats only win. Look, I tell people this all the time. I would rather look ugly and win than to look pretty and lose. I know his style is not pretty. I know it's not 4,000 yards a season, but it gets the job done. And like I stated, it takes more of a leader to step back and understand I have an incredible asset on the offensive side of the ball. Let me get the ball in the hands of my greatest players than for you to just put your ego in front of the team. He's not the only one that did that in the 90s. Look at Jim Kelly. Look at what he had with Thurman Thomas on his team. Did anybody hold the fact that he had almost 15 Pro Bowlers a year going to the Pro Bowl in Buffalo? No. His style wasn't pretty as far as running the ball. The offense was, but the style wasn't. So it's not his fault. As far as Jalen Hurts is concerned, look, when he's on that field and he has the ball in his hands, guess what? I'm trusting a proving winner with that ball. He was surrounded by talent at Alabama, and he went to another school where he went to another school with back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners and damn near became a Heisman himself. And guess what? In Alabama, he wasn't known for throwing the ball. Am I right or wrong, BRF? In Alabama, he wasn't known for throwing the ball.
Not much.
Shoot, he got benched because he couldn't throw.
Exactly. And then he went straight to Oklahoma and became a Heisman candidate. Top 5 at the end of the season. Became a Heisman candidate. That just goes to show you how he can adjust this game. And the thing is, going from the SEC, going from defense, running the ball, passing out of necessity, making big plays in the clutch, going from that to the air raid system in Lincoln Riley, you have to follow up 2 Heisman Trophy winners, 2 number 1 overall picks. And you have to follow that. And you perform just as well as they did. He performed just as well. He became a Heisman. They damn near became a school that had 3 Heismans in a row because of Jalen Hurts. That was part of his development. Then you go somewhere. Then you come to Philadelphia. Guess what? It's not my look. It's kind of like the real world. It's not my fault. My parents did what they were supposed to do. They raised me. They did what they needed to do. They put me around resources. They put me behind great people. They put me in these mentoring programs so I can learn. It's not Jalen Hurts' fault that he fell into good situations and put himself into good situations. Because if he couldn't play, then guess what? He wouldn't have that starting quarterback position. They'd still be searching for another quarterback. So like I stated, it takes that general to understand I have a great asset on my team in the form of Saquon Barkley. If I have to take a step back and give him the ball 35 times for us to win the game, so be it. If I have to throw 35 times for us to win, so be it. That's what being a leader is all about at the quarterback position. We praise everybody else for the quote-unquote intangibles, but when it's Jalen Hurts, all of a sudden the intangibles don't matter. Drew Brees, the offensive board. I'm going to tell you something. You know what I say about that? So was the San Antonio Spurs offense was boring as well. Look what that produced. Duke University's offense is boring in college basketball. Look what that produced. I don't care about boring. I care about order. I care about clutchness, and I care about winning. I don't care about boring. Look, you can run the ball 45 times to get 5 yards to carry. As long as you win, that's what matters with me. I don't need all the high-flying stuff. If Atlanta came out here and ran the ball with Bijan 50 times and we won every game 7-0, okay, so be it. We won. I don't need all the high-flying stuff. That's what we get it. Flashy toys aren't always the best thing. Driving that Lamborghini and spending $500 a week in order to get to work, yeah, it looks good, but it ain't good for them pockets. Driving that Toyota Yaris that looks like a clown car, but you only paying $25 every 2 weeks in order to get to work, and you saving that money. That's what that is. That's what you call winning. You want to drive that Toyota for $25 every 2 weeks and look bad, or do you want to drive that Ferrari for $500 every week and look good? Because when you drive that Toyota, you're winning at the end of the day.
Unfortunately, champ, with the younger generation, no matter how much you may preach, man, unfortunately, they're not seeing it the way that you see it.
Again, I'm old. I understand that.
No, it's not just because of oldness, champ. I just think, to me, they just only care about what they want to see is flashy. Look, all 3 of us, you making great points, champ. all three of us have given Jalen Hurts his respect. And again, I know when you're speaking, you're not speaking directly to me. You're speaking to other people who have skepticism or criticism of Jalen Hurts. For the
Exactly.
record, and I'll say it again, champ, I've been fair to Jalen Hurts.
Yes,
I've
you have.
given him his flowers. I've given him his due. I said he's top 10. Do I think he's top 5? No. Matter of fact, I'll mention this last week, champ, a start, bench, and cut. You started Baker, bench Jordan Love, and cut Jalen Hurts. And
Absolutely.
again, it had nothing. And as much as you give Jalen Hurts credit for winning, you said it comes down to arm talent, ability, everything else. That's why you put Jalen Hurts at the bottom. That's why you cut him. That's why you start Baker, and that's why you bench Jordan Love. I think Jalen Hurts has not gotten enough flowers or recognition. Yes. When I look at Jalen Hurts at this point, you know what he reminds me of, champ? He's the modern day version of Russell Wilson. He's the modern Russell Wilson because when you look at Seattle, when they were having their success, Russ was there, but was he getting enough credit? No,
No.
it was the defense. No, it was beast mode. Remember, champ, we were on Thomas's podcast, on the Hop podcast, and shout out to our guy Thomas on the Hop. You told me prime Russell Wilson or prime Jaden Daniels. I said prime Russell Wilson because of longevity, but you also said, hey, prime Jaden Daniels because it starts and ends with Jaden Daniels. Without Jaden Daniels, where would the Washington Commanders be? Philadelphia people who have criticism of Jalen Hurts, they feel like, you know what? Yes, we respect Jalen Hurts. He's a good enough quarterback. He belongs in the NFL. But is it really all about him? Imagine if you put him somewhere else. Unfortunately, champ, no matter what Jalen Hurts has done, it's still not going to be enough in order for people to get their approval of him. And if I'm Jalen Hurts or them Eagles or the Eagles players, the hell with them. Because at the end of the day, it's not affecting, it's not interfering my play. I'm still going to continue to win games. Okay, fine. I may not be flashy. Okay, fine. I'm not going to put up 400 yards every single game. That's fine. Am I winning? I just mentioned the stat, the 17 consecutive winning streak in which Jalen Hurts, 43 touchdowns to only 5 turnovers. What better football can you ask than that?
You can't. And like I said, he's healthy. Look, that game is a prime example of look, you can say what you want to, but when it matters the most,
this is what he can be.
Yeah,
and
this is what I am. Not necessarily what he can be.
no,
It's
no,
what
this is
I am.
no, Chip. This is what when I say not just who I am, what I can be.
Yeah.
What I mean is when the Eagles finally say, you know what, Jalen, enough of this. We're gonna put the ball in your hands. We're gonna let you come help this team come back.
Yeah.
If he did more of this more often, champ, people would give him his flowers. What you saw was an example of Jalen Hurts being unleashed. Finally saying, you know what? Enough of the system. Jalen, we're gonna let you put the ball in. We're gonna put the ball in your hands. You do whatever you want. We're gonna allow you to operate the offense. What you saw is what Jalen Hurts can do consistently. And if you give him that chance, he can do it.
Yes. I agree with you. But how we say it down south BRF, why bang your head against the wall when it's only 5 steps to go around it? And that's the thing. I'm not finna bang my head against the wall by throwing the ball 40 times just because it looks flashy. I don't care about that. And the thing is, that's what leadership is about. Leadership. I don't have to sit around here and throw the ball 40 times. I have a weapon behind me. I can give him the ball 20 times. He can give us 200 yards. I can do what I need to do in the clutch when it matters, and we can go out here and win games. That's what matters as a quarterback. Like I stated, it takes a bigger general to take a step back in order to say, I have a great weapon in front of me than to put your ego in front of you. When you start putting your ego in front of you as a quarterback, wanting to pass every freaking down, that's where Jeff Georges are created. That's the thing. When you have a leadership mind like a Jalen Hurts, when you say, I have a hell of a running back, a Hall of Fame caliber running back that I can give him the ball 30, 40 times a game, and guess what? We can still produce points, we can still win games, and I can take that step back. That's what leadership is all about. But why should I suffer? And why should I risk putting the ball in dangers, putting the ball in there when I have a back that capable? That's what a lot of guys and a lot of sports commentators are not understanding. Why do I need to put the ball in danger 40 straight times a game when I have a running back the caliber of a Saquon Barkley? It makes no sense. And guess what? If you want proof of how valuable a running game can be and how a general can take a step back, look at what happened in the Detroit Lions game this past Monday with Detroit versus Baltimore. Guess what? Sonic and Knuckles. Let them run roughshod. If what we're doing is working, I could care less how the outcome. I could care less what the box score say. As long as that box score say the W at this point, it doesn't matter. And like I said, you have another quarterback in the NFC by the name of Jared Goff. He has two great running backs at his disposal. I don't hear him getting a lot of criticism.
Because unfortunately, the difference between Jalen Hurts and Jared Goff is that Jared Goff puts up crazy passing numbers compared to Jalen Hurts. And that's the thing, though. And unfortunately, they use that against Jalen Hurts. What you saw from Jalen Hurts, he can do that. He's capable of doing it. It's just the fact that because of what he has in terms of the roster as presently constructed, he's not asked to do much. But in situations, he ain't got no problem taking over. And last week was the latest example.